So now that you've had a chance to look over the data and read through, I want to share your thoughts based on what you've read in the data collected before I go over the highlights.
Okay. I'll just call them by what their key was.
That's fine.
B1 is the one that doesn't read and write very well.
Okay.
So some of his things on here were those types of things, and that's kind of why I wanted to see what your input would be to see about some things.
Gotcha.
To get him going. And he's also done some of the warm-ups in the past, so he has gotten up in front of the class.
Okay, good. I
And
was in there one day when he did that.
yeah, so he has gotten a little bit of experience with leading, and maybe he can help me with a few things, because he's enthusiastic about things, but he's one of those ones that drifts really easily because of others in the group, especially the girls that sit near him. So I might need I've moved him from where he was before, but I might need to move him again.
Okay.
Maybe that'll help him a little.
Okay.
To focus.
Is there anything else that came to your mind, or questions or thoughts? Really, just share anything you'd like to share based on what you've read.
I can't think of anything else right now.
Okay. Well, let's look from top to bottom. You'll also notice on the data that I collected that there were points in which I had a thought, and I would put that in italics. So I'm sure you figured that out when you were reviewing that. But as the students came in, I did notice that B1 and B2 entered the classroom in on time. They were seated. They are aware of the startup routine and what those norms are, and they're very eager to come in, and they respond to the norms. They're on task. They get started on time. I also noticed that B1 did flip through the music book and was very expressive and eager to get started. He kept mentioning, let's get this party started, let's get this party started. And that energy is just so infectious. It was just a delight to watch he's just very anxious to get started in the classroom. As time moved on, B1 and B2 have been given the Do Now activity, and they didn't really get started on the activity, and now you clarified that B1 actually doesn't read or write, and that's why B2 just got the Do Now slip of paper. Okay. I also noticed that things moved along. The rehearsal was going fine. The Do Now's the Do Now section was coming to a close, and when you started asking questions, B1 is very eager to shout out answers. But then there was a time where you actually asked him a question and he responded. He's anxious, and so in just a few minutes we'll talk about, so knowing that, what does that cause you to think you would want to do with him? B1 looks around to other students, and he often echoes what other students are saying or doing. He mimics what they say or do. And B2 attempts to write something on the Do Now slip before it's time to pass it in. And what he's doing is he's copying what you're writing down on the board. So he understands that something should be on the paper. He's not able to, it doesn't appear that he's able to come up with that on his own as much as he is waiting for you and looking for direction from you, because he was copying what he saw you write. B1 touches the student next to him, certainly in not in an inappropriate way, but just in an annoying way, and she quickly asked him to back off and get off of her, and he responded to that in a good manner. B1 and B2 participated eagerly in the warm-up, and they did not take out music for the song, and that's probably because I would assume they don't read. I know you said B1 did not read. B2 finally did grab his book, but B1 never did. And that was fine. Again, I was just documenting what I saw. B1 says that he's not going to stand up. If you remember from an earlier comment, he often echoes what he hears. So all of a sudden, he was participating beautifully, and then he said he was not going to stand up, which I thought was a little odd. but I know he was hearing that being said.
Yeah.
And but then he works through it. He eventually stands up. You didn't have to reprimand him and get him up. B2 looks at his music while he's singing, and B1 sings without his music. B1 and 2 sings their part for the national anthem, and then as you change music, they both change over very nicely. The transition works for them, changing music. And B2, I think this was very exciting data, B2 tells B1 to shh, to quiet down when B1 accidentally comes in with the girls on their part. Which really was a big moment, because B2, what does that tell me about B2?
He knows, he knows his part, and he knows where other people, he knows how he fits in with the other. And he's well aware of his part.
That's exactly
in
right.
music.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And then you tell B2 to stand up, and he responds accordingly. So that was what I recorded about B1 and B2 while I was observing.